Hi everyone, my name is Ying. I'm going to be note taking and I work with sales as the admin support.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna get the first person, Elizaveta Kurilova. Are you here?
I'm here, but my connection is so poor now.
Okay,
It's okay.
it's okay, no problem. And the second is I'm looking for Lev, L-E-V. Are you here?
Yep, I hear. Yep.
Thank you. The person Shan Yang, are you here?
Yes, yes. Hi.
Hi, Shan.
You have a bottle of cleaner. Okay.
Let me turn on. Sorry.
All right. Next, Yushay Chu, are you here? Yushay? Oh, okay, skip. All right, next, Krista, are you here?
I'm here.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, and Kaylin?
Yes,
Kaylin?
present. I'm present.
Okay, thank you. And next, Tina Van Tooley?
Yes,
Are
I'm
you
here.
Ah, thank you. And the next person is Trang. Are you here?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Next is Nizar Amli.
Yes,
Ah.
I'm here.
The next will be Alma Beckus.
Yes, I am here.
Thank you. And next is Dinah Smith.
So hi, I'm here.
Thanks. Next one's Antonio.
Does not look like it.
Oh, okay. Next, the last person will be Ziad Al Windawi.
I'm here.
Ah, thank you. So yes, we have 10 participants here. I'm gonna popcorn it to Kevin.
Oh, Kevin won't be able to reply.
Okay, then Axel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Axel Campana. I am one of the team members with Knot Studio. I'm an environmental justice practitioner researcher. Yeah, it's so nice to be with you today. I will pass it on to Andrew.
Thank you, Axel. I'm Andrew Tellinghast, use he or they pronouns. I am also with Knot Studio, and we're collaborating with the city on this park systems planning effort. So grateful for you all being here. Really excited. I've heard a lot about this committee, and I'm glad to finally be able to put some faces to the names, and looking forward to the work that we're doing together here.
Thank you.
And
Marcus.
Who is Marcus?
Hey y'all, my name is Marcus Ford. I use he and him pronouns. I'm the community engagement manager for the city of Hillsborough. I won't be here long. I did just want to stop in and make my presence known. I've been working with Ryan on this. Ryan's doing some amazing work here, and so I'm just happy to kind of see it all come into fruition. Yeah, and so I'm here if folks need me or want to chat. I'm all about it. Are we passing to everybody, or did the roll call count as everyone else?
I think it counts, but if anybody wants to say anything, feel free to add to your the roll call / introduction. If you'd like to say anything, just go ahead and speak your mind right now, and then we'll get started after that. Looks like most people. Oh, yep. Zayed or Yasmin? I think it's Yasmin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I just wanna, actually not me, my boys, they wanna say thank you for the wonderful park in Hillsborough, the new one. That's one in 53rd Avenue.
Hmm?
It's very impressive and it's very nice and all the family enjoy it, especially the long chairs. I like it. I took my tea and drink my tea and they start playing. Even they are teenagers, but they loved all the slides, everything. It's very, very nice work. Good job, guys. Thank you.
I will pass that on to the project manager and team. Yeah, and Oro, the big troll. I think he's a troll, or they are a troll.
Monkey. It's monkey.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a monkey.
It's
Yeah.
a monkey. Okay, it's a monkey.
The monkey, he's laying down. That my boys told me, Mom, we are going to the monkey. Where is the monkey? So it's big slides and the sand, playing the sand. It's contain everything. The big swing. It's very nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
will pass that on to the team, and we're glad that you love it. So, does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Thank you,
Yes,
Angela.
this is Tina. I was gonna comment on that too. That the new part is just wonderful. Our family enjoyed that so much, and then we spread the word to people on Beaverton and Portland that we have an awesome new park at Hillsborough that they have to be jealous with us. So, thank you for the hard work.
Well, hopefully, our work will make more parks like that all over our community. So, thank you. That's our goal, right? Is to do some amazing things. Is there anybody else that has anything they'd like to say? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna share my screen here. If I can find it. All right, and I'm gonna make this a presentation full screen. Again, welcome everybody. I won't be able to see everybody, so feel free to speak up. Actually, I'm going to close one of my windows so I can try and see everybody. So this is our second meeting for the Community Advisory Committee meeting. Like we said, we'll have about 2 more. And we're here to we did our introductions. We'll do the community agreements here shortly. And then we're going to talk about the community survey. It's been out. I don't know if you've seen flyers yet. We are getting some posters in the parks. I do have extra flyers in my office, and we'll talk more about that. But I am going to give you a quick update on the survey results so far, just a few of the items on the survey results. We'll have a little discussion, and then we're going to take a break. The break might actually be a little bit earlier because we do want to give Excel and Andrew time to talk about, actually it's the equity research that they've done. I'm sorry, it says demographic research, but it's equity research. And we have a lot of maps to show you. It's, like I said, we're bringing you stuff that isn't completely baked because we don't want to just present stuff and say, look, we've done it. We're actually presenting stuff to get your feedback, to make sure it makes sense. And then they'll have some questions for you. And then we'll finish up with next steps and scheduling the next meeting, which again, we'll try to provide enough options for you so it's easy to participate. So I do want to start with our land acknowledgement. I want to take a different approach. I will read this real quick, but I would also like to invite our Indigenous communities to have an opportunity to speak if they'd like. But just real quick, I'm going to read through this. This is important for the work we're doing. Although this is a Parks and Recreation System plan, we are really trying to provide opportunities that the whole point of this project is trying to acknowledge the past 400 years in many ways and take steps toward the future and rectifying some of the inequities that have occurred. And we're very serious about that in this project, and that's why our primary outcome will be priority-based, equity-based priorities in investment for our community. And that's why we have all of you here to help us usher into a different approach to community planning and parks and recreation. So very quickly, I'd like to read this and then provide any Indigenous community members an opportunity to speak. The Portland metro area has been and continues to be the homelands of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes since time immemorial. Oh, I have to let Mark go in real quick here. Today, I specifically want to honor the land now known as Washington County and Clackamas County, because that's where I am, and its original inhabitants from time immemorial, the Tualatin band of the Kalapuya, also known as Atfalati, Tualati, Tualatin, Quality, Tualati, or Tualati. I probably pronounced that wrong, and Clackamas. They have lived and prospered by maintaining strong cultural ties to the land and through wise management of resources. Our intent as a Parks and Recreation Department is to start moving towards having better management of our resources and providing opportunities to reconnect our Indigenous community members to land that was ceded from them. So I would like to take the opportunity for if any Indigenous community members would like to say anything, please feel free to do so now.
Sahayam, Diane Smith Nagayaho, Malala Tanuk Wasco, Slamet Sakadat Pimeti Delchabnaiga. Greetings with honor. My name is Diane Smith. I am Malala Chinook, Wasco, Klamath, Klickitat, and of Métis descent. And I just wanted to say thank you for acknowledging the fact that we still exist and that that this land wasn't always the United States of America. I just got back from, I'm almost home. I'll be home in about 10 minutes, but I just got back from a GONA meeting. That's a gathering of Native Americans meeting at Grand Ronde. And so I'm just honored to be a part of this committee and honored and just happy that our people are acknowledged. So Hayumasi, that means many thanks.
Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate it. Marcus, did you have?
Yes, I would like to say a couple things. First of all, thank you for doing this. Ryan and Diane, thank you for your lovely words as well. Just this week, the city of Hillsborough has formally adopted a land acknowledgement, and it's not these exact words, but it goes a long way to having our jurisdictions formally acknowledge, and so that was just adopted by City Council on Tuesday in a formal way, and so I'm really excited to have us moving forward with that.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So we did the introductions. We're ahead of the schedule, y'all. And then agreements. So we always start our meetings out with some general community agreements. This is to provide you with understanding. Please be present and active and participate if you feel comfortable. Turn your video on as much as you are able and comfortable to do. Just mute yourself if you mute yourself until you want to say something, just in case there's some background noise. Like I have a dog that is going to probably start growling and making noise here shortly because she's hungry. Please use the chat function. It is part of we can get a lot of information from that. And then there are no right or wrong answers. We may have differing opinions, but I just want you to know that your opinion matters, whether there's disagreements or not. And then we are not expecting you to be representatives of an entire culture or community. We are expect you to come up and show up as yourself with your own experiences. So I just want to make sure that we all agree with that. If anybody doesn't, please let me know. And we can discuss that. But we're trying to create a really safe space for everybody. Oh, by the way, hi Marco. Marco made it, everybody. It's okay. Did you want to introduce yourself real quick, Marco?
Hi, thanks for allowing me to join one more time. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi. Essentially, I'm just a member of the community. My people come from Mexico. I think I mentioned that before. I'm a mechanic. I've been a mechanic in the community for about 20 years now. And so I'm just really honored to be a part of this and to be able to help in any way I can. And, you know, any sort of humble contribution. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. We appreciate you being here actually a lot. So thank you so much. I'm gonna go on to the next slide now. So I'm just gonna give you a quick community survey update. It's just really 2 slides. The information is a bit old because Jamie, as you notice, isn't present. She led the last meeting. She will be back next Tuesday. She took some time off. And I want to let you know that this is what our survey looks like. We have these postcards going out all over the community. As you see, we have it in 7 languages. And then there's this, we're going to have some park signs up. And there's a cool QR code that you just click on it with your camera. It takes you right to the survey. I'm actually going to show you real quick if I can figure out how to. I had trouble with this earlier, y'all. Just a second here. This Zoom is the hardest thing for me to do. Just a second here. I was going to take you. Okay, perfect. I'm going to take you to the website and show you what our website looks like. Just a second here. I should have had this teed up. It's really easy. Oh. You can just Google Hillsborough Park System Plan, and it will bring up our Parks and Recreation System Plan. And cool thing about our website, that little QR code goes right to the website. It will always go to the website for all the future engagement activities, because we're not just doing the survey. We're going to do some other surveys and activities. We'll have an online, or we'll have an open house in probably late October, early November. And as you can see here, there's links in the 7 different languages. Actually, we have 8 here. We have traditional and simplified Chinese. And then just so you all know, you can always Google Hillsborough Park System Plan, and all of the materials that are being developed, like the video that we had for the last presentation, is online. And then I also have notes here. If you want to check them out, check out the notes. If you see anything that needs to be corrected, let me know and I can correct those. But we have all of the, we're trying to make sure that we put all of the data on the website that is being created. We also have 2 more work groups. We have our inter work group with the Parks and Rec department that are helping us to design the plan. And then we also have an inter and intra agency group. We're renaming it 5 times, but it's different departments within the city, as well as other organizations like Clean Water Services, Washington County, Hillsborough School District, that we're in the process of building or pulling together. So if you get a chance, just check out the website. That little QR code will go right to here. And then also I can, if you want, and put in the chat if you'd like it, text you. I have some of your cell numbers. I will text you a link so you can text your friends to take the survey, and it'll just be a link that goes right to this page. But Ping is going to talk about that in a second. I'm kind of jumping ahead. Okay, I'm going to go back to our presentation. Okay, so there's our postcard that's going out. We're going to have some posters in the parks. I'm picking those up Monday and getting them out to 44 locations. So far, we've promoted the survey through city social media. Okay, Marco, I got that. I got your name down. We've promoted it through city social media, and several times. We're going to keep doing it every week. We're actually going to do Instagram posts. If you follow this city's Parks and Recreation Instagram post, you'll be able to share that with any of your friends. Our community engagement liaisons, they've been out promoting. So part of our engagement has quite a few members of Ping Explain, the community engagement liaison program, and we have a lot of engagement liaisons out. I think we have about 11, and they're out actively promoting at individual events with different community groups. We will have the posters in the parks this week or next week. This is a little fib. I did this a little earlier. We've had folks at El Grito, and then this weekend we'll have some folks at Arenco Fest, and then again giving you sending you some text links. So just let me know in the chat if you want those. And then so far, now this is as of September 13th, so it's a little old data. We're waiting till Tuesday for Jamie to get back to give us some fresh data. We only received 286 responses. You can see the breakdown. We had fairly diverse amount of responses, but still have a lot of white community members that responded, 142, 26 LGBTQIA, Latina 47, Asian 36. We only had one Middle Eastern or North African person respond, and we're hoping to get some more community members. The cells will be out. We have cells that represent each of these community groups, and Ping is really good at saying you need to get out there. So we still have 2 weekends. And then, so these are kind of the results we've gotten so far. They could change depending on how many more people participate. Trails and aquatic centers are at the top of the list. Protected open spaces or forested areas, community gardens, and then I actually saw one, playgrounds for adults, so not just for kids. I think it was Yasmin, like, I think we need playgrounds too. Maybe we need adult slides, and that's been coming up quite a bit lately. So these are all of our top 8 as of 9/13. And then as the top 10 classes, programs, and events in the future, more music events, kids classes, and camps. I think camps, especially probably in the summer, while people are working, having a place for their kids to go. Outdoor classes, the movies in the park. We do have quite a few movies in the park, but that seems to be, we're thinking about how we can spread that out around the city, so it's not just in a few areas. And then our free meal program, and then small sports events. So there's some really, it's quite a mix of things with programs and events for the future. So when you get a chance, get the word out. I will get postcards to you. I'm going to let you know that I won't let you know that yet. He might get mad at me, but I think we're going to extend it 1 more week. Don't tell anybody, because we do want to give. I know, Ping, I'm sorry. Now she's disappointed. Don't tell anybody though. So Ping, you want to, sorry, Ping, you want to go ahead and take over here?
Yes. Now, remind me not to tell you any secret in the future.
We might. We're not sure yet.
Okay, so I just want to let you know that we actually have 18 liaisons out there. Not just 11, but 18 liaisons out there sharing the information. And I think many of you have met the liaisons because you were recruited by that particular liaisons. So what the liaisons been doing is that they actually been visiting a lot of local businesses, like, you know, a bubble tea place, a restaurant, a 7-Eleven store, or any places. And you could see that the postcard that Ryan showed you earlier, that is a stack of postcard that they left it there. And also they've been promoting it on social media as well. But as you can see, on September 13, we only have 286. We might have a few hundreds, you know, the last week or so, but we still need your help. You will be the best ambassador here. And, you know people that we don't know. You have relationship with them, you know, you have sister, brothers, or families, or good friends. We just need you to actually ask people that live in Hillsborough, people that actually work in Hillsborough, or people that use the Hillsborough parks, or even not using Hillsborough Park, but come to visit Hillsborough to take the surveys. And if you need to, we can also send you the link, and you can share the link with everybody. Because the park is not just for one person. It's not just not just one family. It's for you now, and it's also for your future family. Whoever is going to live in the neighborhood, or whoever is going to live in, the place, you're going to use the park. So we need to know what people want to see, how we can make it better for everyone. So your help is very, very desperately needed. So let us know how you want us to share the information with you. Let's say, if you need a QR code sent to you, let us know. And you have our email, because we've been sending a reminder to you all, so you can send it to us. If you want the link, we can also share the link with you. Liaison can only do so much. They can leave all the postcard there, they can leave all the information there, but they are not the people that are going to talk to your neighbors. They are not the people who's going to talk to your sister and brothers. So you will be the best person to tell them that it's important to take the surveys. So we're really, 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 really counting on you. If you have any questions, let us know. All right, back to you, Ryan.
Well, also, if you want postcards, we made 8,000 postcards. If you want postcards, you should have my email by now. It's the ryan.c@hillsborough. I'll put it in the chat. Let me know if you want me to deliver them. I will deliver them. If you want to pick some up at Hidden Creek Community Center, I will have them there for you. I can tell you who to ask for. If you want me to text you the link, I won't keep your phone number. I promise. I won't text you a bunch of stuff. And by the way, I'm using my personal phone. I don't actually use the city phone for this stuff. So if you need, and if you want any of that, just let me know, and I will get it to you however you're comfortable.
And don't worry, Ryan's not going to send you 8,000 copies, okay? If he's
No.
send it to you, you might be
Maybe 1,000.
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20. I'll give you a little stack. All right.
Yes. So don't worry, he's not going to send 8,000 copies to your house.
All right. Are there any questions so far? I'm going to scan through here. Just like here. Are there any questions? I don't see any hands up. Okay. Thank you all.
Yes, we have some people that want the link. We'll send a link after the meeting today. We'll send to everybody the link.
Okay.
We got Marco saying that he will need the link, and also Christian wants the link. We can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Recording in progress. To prioritize equity as a part of their mission. So what I just said is it's vital that we tie in our efforts with the City of Hillsborough's prior efforts to prioritize equity as a part of their mission. Thus, the city's equity statement and their equity toolkit, and also the City of Hillsborough's comprehensive plan, are serving as precedents that we're carrying forth, adapting, and also where necessary to a park system, but then also when necessary, expanding in service of creating equity-based policies and practices. So, so there are, if you go on to the next slide. So we kind of broken this down. There's no need to read all of this because you have it in your packet and we're going to kind of be breaking it down. But we have some principles that we're carrying forward from the City of Hillsboro's equity statement and their drafting process, some that we're adopting and some that we're expanding. And it kind of breaks down along the lines of the equity statement in this way, because every single sentence in this statement was very intentional. So if you go to the next slide. So then this is the breakdown that's, I think, easier to read and easier to understand. It kind of summarizes each of those paragraphs. And the first two principles that we're carrying forward, the first one is that equity is the pursuit of equal outcomes. And so this means that following the city's definition, our work seeks to emphasize the role that parks have in providing a quality of life for everyone, and to identify and make recommendations to eliminate barriers to parks access. We also are following and kind of carrying forth the principle that we want to lead with race. And that means that we acknowledge that while there are many different identity dimensions along which groups and individuals have been and are marginalized, we know that they're all made, the gaps are made, existing gaps are always made worse, are magnified when we intersect them with race, and we consider race on top of them. So we're considering a variety of socioeconomic and race and also variables, but also making sure that we lead with race in how we're doing our analysis and how we are looking at priority areas in the city to invest. These are principles, the second set of principles that we're adapting to make sure that they're relevant to a park system. And the first one is acknowledging past harm. And so we kind of talked about this already a little bit, but just we see the importance and the need to acknowledge the history of how we got to these inequitable outcomes. So we're inspired to see the city's commitment to be responsive to identity and cultural differences as a part of equity, and thus much of the report will give explicit attention to this history. We also are trying to describe components of equity, and this acknowledging past harm focus we're describing as recognition justice. And so we're also adapting the principle of acknowledging exclusion, which that principle is kind of saying that effective equity work requires acknowledging how communities have been excluded or marginalized from decision-making processes that impact their lives. And so it then requires taking action to create inclusive decision-making processes and support, and also support the self-determination of the communities as well. And so we describe this process and this kind of focus area as procedural justice. And then we have principles that we're expanding. And so the first is that we want to speak in the language of justice. So we see it as within the same spirit of the City of Hillsborough equity statement, that to achieve equity, we must overcome unjust conditions within our own system, and also policies and practices, both intentional and unintentional, that support those conditions. So the overcoming of historical and current day harms and moving toward healing is justice. And thus, we use the language of justice to describe each of these dimensions of equity focused on fixing conditions, policies, and practices that perpetuate inequity. So the last two that we're expanding are understanding how parks are provisioned. We may know, I'm not sure, we'll kind of see today maybe, that even though they're a publicly funded resource, park acres and park quality are not equally distributed across the city and its population. And we see this as being because the way that social inequality concentrates the most vulnerable people in our communities to the least resourced areas. So this is why so much of the report will focus on like where parks are and who is served by parks in the City of Hillsborough. And we describe this focus area as distributive justice. And then the last piece that we're expanding is a commitment to operationalize equity, or commitment to equity action. And because inequities have overwhelmingly been due to structural inequality and also institutional policies and practices, this analysis and the resulting report seeks to focus on the role and responsibility of the parks system to alleviate social and economic inequalities, and that it contributes to within its mandate and within its power. So that's a big mouthful. That's probably the longest slide that we have in the whole deck. So sorry, it's so long, but it's really important. I want to say go to one more slide and then just pause. So if could you go to the next slide, please? So this is kind of the three prongs of the equity framework as we've described it, and based on and building off of the City of Hillsboro's equity statement. And so we see these three kinds of justice as essential components to take action to achieve equity in the park system. So that's our equity framework overall. I just want to pause and see if there's any questions, if there's things we want to say, if there's thoughts people have thus far.
Do you mind if I add just one thing to that, Excel? So this is a lot of background data that will be explained in the bulk of the document. We're going to have a simpler document at the beginning, and this is kind of the real deep layers that we've been going through over the last 2 years to better understand how we're going to create that prioritization criteria, so that we're investing in the right spots versus investing in maybe places that are overinvested in. It's pretty deep. We've put a lot of thought into it. So this is kind of an overview. It'll be in the document, really laid out in a very easy to use fashion, essentially. Are there any sorry, back to the group here. Are there any questions? Oh, I'm going to admit Diane, she's just popped in. Hi, Diane. Okay, so Excel, you're going to go over the maps, right?
Yes. I did want to say too that we're trying to build a really solid case too, right? And so this is a part of building that case, is really being clear about what we mean when we say equity, and how we're trying to get very specific about the different ways that we want to go about achieving that.
Yeah, and this is also to support that we're going from a traditional approach to, which is built in colonial, European colonial approaches, systems of segregate, all the systems. We're switching that, and we're going into a transition to a different approach. So what the NOT team is trying to do is really build a case that is bulletproof and people can't argue with, and they're doing a great job at moving us to that next level, society wise and Parks and Rec wise. Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. Is that okay?
That sounds good.
And I want to welcome, I think David just joined us. Hold on, wait. Diane and David. Hi, David. It's good to see you.
Oh, just one note about the previous slide is just that, you know, the distributive justice piece is all about priority communities and where resources are. And so that's a lot of what we're covering today with our maps. And the procedural justice piece is kind of what we're doing today, right? It's making sure that there's transparency of process, that that community members are represented in decision making. We're kind of showing you like kind of how the pie is being made as we're making it. Yeah, and the recognition justice is just acknowledging all of that past, all that past stuff that has happened to get us to where we are, that necessitates our action today. All right, you can move on to the next slide. So the whole summary for that entire section could be said that the park system has an obligation and has made also a commitment to its residents to use public funds to provide equitable park services. And as such, it's important to know what services the park system provides or offers, who they serve, where the services are located, how well they serve them, and ultimately how that all comes together to help prioritize investments based on current and future anticipated need. So that's kind of the results of some of our analysis, and also the park system plan as a whole hopes to accomplish this. So you can move on to the next question. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, you can stay here. So then today we're going to only look at a few components of each one of these questions. And then the next time we meet with you, we hopefully will be talking about another set of these components. So today we're looking at an overview of the park system elements, some demographic maps, the race breakdown and the breakdown of different socioeconomics of the city. For the who, for the where, we're going to look at the service zones within a 10-minute walking distance of each neighborhood park. And for how, we're going to look at service zone summaries, which is basically who is served by those parks and how much parks per person there are. And then so what is kind of in our group, like is kind of what is this, what do we think is the story that these kinds of that our results are telling us. All right, so we can move on to the park system elements. And then so first, we're describing the system as being made up of parks, green connections, and centers. And parks have many different types of developed parks with different use intentions and designs. And this includes nature parks, community parks, neighborhood parks, dog parks, gardens, sports complexes, urban plazas, and future parks. Which are like as of yet undeveloped. Green connections provide green throughways between parks for people and wildlife, but also trails for walking, biking, and also patches of open spaces that provide urban green space and like cumulative benefits to the city in the form of ecosystems services. And then we lastly have centers, which are areas where people gather that provide specialized services. And these include community centers, cultural arts centers, recreation centers, aquatic centers, and sports facilities. Thank you. You're so intuitive, right? Okay, so this then is a systems map with just developed parks. They're colored by the kind of park. And note that the neighborhood parks are really light green right now, and that the green connections between parks are in a gray, and so they're all labeled. So I'll just give you a moment to kind of look at this map of what we're calling parks, but are to all the developed parks in the system.
Ready?
Sure. Yeah, and people can jump in if they have any thoughts about any of these maps, or if anything is unclear, you need to zoom in, etc. So this map shows green connections. The parks are in gray, and the 3 existing greenways are labeled, and those are Rock Creek, Polygene Park. Is that what I'm getting that right? Okay, and Butternut Creek Greenway.
And Excel, can we also mention that the green land is owned by the city? There's more green spaces in between along these creek corridors that the city doesn't necessarily own that could be potential future connections. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then these the lighter green is open spaces, and so those are currently park-owned land that is just designated as a conservation area, or kind of like a easement between developments. And so those could also be potential future green connect. I guess they are green connections, but they can also be future greenways potentially. So And then one thing that I want to note is that we hope to add, and that kind of Ryan kind of said that already, but the green spaces that are around stream corridors that are not owned by the park system as of yet.
And the intent at the end of all this, everybody, the intent is that we're going to have a map that shows what 50 years could look like, what the dream system could look like. So it's going to be our dream map, and it's going to show how everything connects and where future parks are, and kind of give us that something to work towards and let the community dream towards and invest in. So
all right, this is the last map of the this first section, which is the park system elements. And this map is a map of all of the centers. And so the color is by the type of center. And one note about this map, about a plan that we already have to change, is to increase the size of Hidden Creek Community Center, because it is the only full service community center in the city. Okay, with that being said, our question is the system summary that we've shown you helpful in understanding all that the City of Hillsborough Parks and Recreation has to offer?
you can either put that in the chat or go ahead and speak up.
I was pretty impressed.
Oh, good. Diane.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, Masi. Oh, sorry. This is Diane. And I was on the whole time. Most of the time I was on my phone, but then I got home, and so then I transitioned onto the home computer. So if you saw me do this, this is the way we say Hayu Masi, or many thanks. And I was like, oh my gosh, they probably don't know that. So if you saw me do this, I was thinking, I hope they didn't think I was like, finally. But really what I was saying is, I honor you and I thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we often say Hayu Masi. That means many thanks. And I do want to say many thanks, because this is the first time I've experienced going beyond the land acknowledgement. I mean, sometimes it's hard enough for people to even hear a land acknowledgement, and they want to pretend like that stuff never happened and let it go. Your ancestors aren't important. Let it go. That was 100 years ago. But I'm saying we can't let it go, because we need to heal from it. You can't just like, oh, you broke your leg, let it go. You know, you have a vision and a way for the healing to happen and it's not just, because sometimes it takes a long time for people to even get what a land acknowledgement is. And then once they understand that, it's like, okay, that's great. That's awesome. But there was no action behind it. It's like, oh yeah, sorry. Or, and this is really providing the action, which is very healing. And just having this vision and the space to speak truth that's not been told, or people's voices who like a different version of history. So it just is my first experience with something so amazing. I kept just wanting to feel like I must be dreaming. Wake me up, because is this really happening? This is amazing. And wow. Yeah. I love that you have a vision, a 50-year vision. That's a little bit closer to like what I was brought up hearing, is thinking 7 generations, and that could be 700 years. So my people are thinking that far ahead, like how is that going to affect our children's 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 children, the choices that we make today. And so, yeah, this is just really good for my heart today. So that's my feedback.
And the 7 generations was, when we conceptualized this project, the 7 generations is what we kept going back to. It's really hard to go from a standard city doing a 15-year plan. Governments are terrible about planning 200 years in the future. They plan for the quick. It's easy to get money to build a park, but how do you maintain it? So we went with 50 years as a way to start the approach towards the seven generations, thinking 7 generations. So are there any other questions, comments? we'll simplify the next slide. I saw a few. It is pretty heavy information, but the next slides will be a little bit simpler and easier to get through. So go ahead, Excel.
Actually, I'm passing to Andrew for this section.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Excel. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully simpler and easier to talk about, but who knows, maybe we'll be opening up all kinds of new cans of worms here, which is always a good thing to do, I think. So yeah, we're going to be looking through another couple series of maps here. Notice the theme here. And we're talking about maps about people here. So population characteristics, you know, this is one of the tools, not the only tool, but one of the tools that we're going to be using as part of this process to try to, you know, answer some of those questions that begin with, you know, who, and that also will be kind of a building block to understanding how well people across Hillsborough are being served by the park systems, and what kind of moves we can make to do a better job of doing that. So yeah, you can stay right here for a sec. Again, yeah, their data and mapping always, you know, they're a complement to kind of direct community engagement, those conversations we're having, getting out in the community, having a survey, asking people questions. They're never a replacement for it. And I should say too that mapping can be like kind of a double-edged sword. Like, you know, it really, really matters. Like, what's your intent going into this? Like, because these kinds of, you know, census data and things have been used and continue to be used to divide and, you know, even oppress people. Thinking about like redlining or gerrymandering, racially based gerrymandering, you know. So it's really important that you're clear about what your intent is and what are the questions you're trying to answer. So yeah, so and then again, there are limits too to the data source that we have. So we're going to be showing some maps about total population, mapping just broadly people of color across the city. There are already additional maps in your packet here, some of the disaggregated groups, and then there's like things that we're considering or attempting to expand that are beyond, you know, breaking out of beyond those limits that the census data, the U.S. federal government census data allow us to do, including mapping different kinds of people living with different disabilities and racial and ethnic groups that are not easily broken out of the census, for instance, that are, you know, lumped in with, you know, quote unquote white. So look for that, and I'm sure we, you know, hopefully get to talk about, you know, what you all might think about that intent. So let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, so this is just total population based on 2020 census data. What we're looking at is a pretty like simple way of portraying what is actually a fairly complicated like mapping process, which I won't get into right now. But each of these little, they're actually little hexagons, little beehives cells are about 10 acres. And we are summing up the population counts, like the individual people within each of those 10 acres. And so that's going to be kind of our unit as we like look to use this mapping data and potentially prioritize investment, prioritize planning and in the system overall. So this is people per 10 acres. So it might help to kind of clock what that means and looks like here, because a lot of the following maps show like a similar, or shown in a similar way. So the smaller counts are lighter yellow colored, and they get darker through the kind of orange, red, and purple as you get to like the highest densities of people across the country, across the city. And then you see there are parts of the city where really nobody live at all, or next to nobody live at all, which is important to look at as well. So, and one more note that in the maps that follow, the like minimum and maximum numbers on those legends will change. So what might be a dark red on one of these maps might be a different color on another as far as number of people, but it's just kind of important to allow those to continue to change, because we don't want to there are racial and ethnic and other identities that are really critical to consider. And if you just say, oh, well, you know, how does that compare the total number of people of this other group? It kind of washes out, right? So yeah, so that's total population, and it's an important kind of base for some of the analysis what we're doing. So let's move on to the next one.
So Andrew, just to summarize, these maps, the numbers change based on the density. That's just to really to show that, to emphasize where we have that diversity. So they're going to look, the numbers are different, but we're trying to emphasize the diversity.
Oh, it looks like this is the version that has all of the maps in it, and so we'll have to skip forward to people of color. Cool. There it is. And then is there a second map after this one too? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, great. Yeah. So you can go back to the first one first.
Yeah. So population of people of color, and in this sense, going back to what are the limitations of the data coming from the census, this is really everyone who in 2020 identified as white alone, without any combination with other races or ethnicities, and did not identify as Hispanic or Latino.
Oh, this is the people of color map, Andrew.
Yeah, so that's everyone. Sorry, everyone besides those who identified as white alone. It's really who are people of color? Everyone who does not identify as white alone and not Hispanic and Latino. Sounds a little backwards, but there we are. So again, we have this whole sort of series of these different race and ethnic groups that are broken out in the packet that I think y'all have. And again, there are like real limits to how those groups are categorized, but we are considering, you know, trying to expand that suite of different representations. So if you go to the next map, this is actually the same data. It's just presented in a different way, that rather than using different colors, it's using the size of these circles to tell us, you know, where there are fewer or more people of color. And, you know, why are we mapping this? You know, I think it goes back to the equity framework that Axel presented earlier, that, you know, for an equity-based park systems plan, we do need to lead with race. So yes, okay. So these are the series of other.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to skip these overall, but I was interested in getting people's feedback on the two representations, and so I'm curious if people would like to put into chat which one they think is a better visually, and to try to understand where people are. And so there's option 1 is the hexagon map, this one, and then option 2 is the purple dots map.
So hexes or dots, right?
Hexes or dots. So 1 is hexes and 2 is dots, or you can just say hexes or dots. And we're considering doing all the maps in this dot fashion.
Okay.
So we want to see if people agree that they like it better.
And I'm going to sit in here. I'm going to calculate this up, folks. So please vote in the chat what you think. Back to the hexes one more time. And then back to the dots. Remember, there's no wrong or right answer. Okay.
Am I allowed to vote?
What was that?
I said, am I allowed to vote?
Yes, at the end. You'll vote in our meeting. Okay, so I'm gonna which maps do you want me to go to next? This is great, folks. I appreciate this.
We're going to skip forward to the next header, which is community vulnerability, or I'm sorry, it's socioeconomics.
Okay, and then you all have these in your packet, so you get to see, take some time to look over them. Is this one right here? So, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, folks, for your vote. I appreciate this feedback.
Okay, you want me to?
This is great, Ryan. So beyond race and ethnicity, we are really interested in indicators of what we call social vulnerability. These are socioeconomic characteristics that some of the ones that we can map, which obviously we cannot map everything. Some of the ones that we can map, and these are like intrinsically tied together with race and ethnicity and other kinds of marginalized identities. But these are some ones that we think that we can use to indicate where, like, and I think you can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Indicate where people are more generally socially vulnerable, and or they may rely more on the public park system to provide amenities, green space, recreation, nature play, because potentially they have less access to those kinds of resources through like private means, like a huge backyard with a playground in it, or schools, clubs, etc. These kinds of sort of private amenities, because that's a really important community to serve those who need it most, right? So this is, and these we can probably just kind of look at briefly and then move on. This is at people living at or below the federal poverty level. And again, this is all like people per 10 acres within those hexes, or potentially dots, who knows. The next one is folks living in rental housing, and this is a complicated one because, of course, there are luxury rental housing out there. It just says there are, it's not a simple one, but certainly the case that home ownership is like one of the primary means of intergenerational wealth accumulation in this system that we live in. Next one is individuals that were born abroad. So these would be non-US citizens that were born outside of the country or United States territories. And linguistic isolation, just explain what that means. So this is the number of people living in households where no member of that household, no adult member of that household speaks English proficiently. So it is, the numbers you'd notice are smaller because, a lot, even households wherein, not everyone is a proficient English speaker. might face those numbers would be fewer because there are fewer of those households. Again, these households face particular barriers to accessing services, healthcare, employment, community involvement, etc. Next one is individuals without health care insurance. And we'll just keep moving. Individuals over 25 without any years of higher education, where the highest educational attainment is high school or below. And in this case, we're mapping just youth, people under 18. I think that might be the last one. Now, the question that we just generally keeping in mind, like I sort of forgot to ask this at the beginning, but how do these results match up with your experiences? What rings true, and what where potentially is this approach of using data in maps? Where does it sort of fall short to show the lived experience of you and your communities? So that would be, maybe we hold off. Do we only have a few minutes left? We have 30 minutes. Okay.
We have 30. Yeah, we have 30 minutes, but we do want to yeah.
Okay. Am I okay?
We try to get out as quick as we can because we value everybody's time. So but yeah, we do have 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll hold off on that seeking feedback on the sense of like matching up the mapping with your experience until after this at the end of this next little section. And the question in this section is, how do these things combine, and how do you use them to prioritize investment potentially? So it's something we called Community Vulnerability Index. And this is sort of just it's really a draft version, like Ryan said at the beginning, still baking the cake, and really, want your input. So you can go to the next slide. Community Vulnerability Index. You're seeing that same 10-acre hexagon. The index 0 to 1, 0 being the least like intersectional compounding of people of color living in poverty, and where do those coincide with all that other series of maps that we went through, such as lack of healthcare, linguistic isolation, etc. And there's a certain sort of formula to like how those are weighted together. And one thing to note here is, in addition, we may also be thinking about including environmental variables, such as where are there higher levels of pollution or exposure to toxics? Where are people more vulnerable to urban heat island effects, flooding, etc. But ultimately, I think our biggest question is like, where do vulnerable people live, and where is there a low amount of parks service, generally speaking? That's where we should look. That's I think the quickest way to sum up how we are thinking about using this kind of mapping tool. Yeah, and that really summarizes this piece here. So maybe we will, pause for questions just about, I know that was like a ton of maps thrown at you. Thanks for bearing with us, but what you see here, do they match up with your experience?
Colleen? Go ahead. Has a question.
Yeah, so in this combined vulnerability map, I'm just curious why non-white or people of color is a factor. I understand, poverty or lack of health insurance being a vulnerability, but just race is a vulnerability as well. Is it combining this overall map here? For what reason?
Andrew, do you want to take that, or I can take that?
Yeah, sure. Whoever, can.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
think it's wrong. I'm just trying to understand.
So yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the question. It's a really important question. Kind of like going back to our equity framework when it comes to leading with race, this vulnerability index is looking at the intersection between between where people of color are and all of the other variables combined. And so it's not just people of color, but it's emphasizing where there are people of color who also experience these other socioeconomic characteristics that lead to vulnerability. So we're certainly not saying that people of color in and of themselves are always vulnerable. We are
Sure.
saying that, yeah, does that answer your question? Or
Yeah, but I would say that even pure white alone people, if they are uninsured, if they are poor, if they are all that, are vulnerable. So
I
I'm
agree
saying
with you.
those factors should be, yes, part of vulnerability index, but not necessarily the white or non-white. That's just my view.
So
yes, definitely.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
don't
go ahead,
mind,
Ryan.
I'd like to add to that. So there's Kalina, I agree with you. And the one thing that we put into this plan was we talked about people of color, but we also added in people with socioeconomic, regardless of race, socioeconomic
Sure, yeah.
disparities, LGBTQ, like a few other layers, disabilities, and then actually also people that have mental illness challenges, which the census doesn't, a lot of those groups, the census doesn't even track. So we're kind of like pulling from what we can get from the census, but also there's something really important with this piece is Hillsborough, believe it or not, does not have a massive tree canopy. And so there's some environmental factors as well. And I think that's what's been brought into this. Is that correct? Excel is like also...
Not yet. It's something that we're considering bringing in.
Because
so this is currently a draft, right?
Okay. And that'll also be a layer, because environmental issues, lower income areas don't necessarily, this is the thought, have the tree canopy and the natural areas and spaces like that for that affect the air. And so there's a lot of layers to that.
Yeah, those again, I clearly understand how it could be part of the vulnerability index. So,
and we're going to add those.
I just want to make sure I'm capturing what you're saying and that I've responded to it effectively. So I'm hearing you say that because people who are white can also experience poverty and can also experience lacking healthcare and these other socioeconomic characteristics, that what you're saying is you don't think that people of color should be included in the community vulnerability index. And I really appreciate that, because I think that actually folks who experience vulnerability along socioeconomic lines and should be included. And I think that they are, and they are included and captured here. It's just that when you, the reason that is emphasized is because for people of color is because when you have some of those characteristics and you're a person of color, that gap increases, and that that those inequities are exacerbated. And we kind of see that along all like large statistical kind of comparisons of life outcomes between people of color and white folks overall, and along any one of these one dimensions. So I hear you. And I just want to emphasize that this is emphasizing, not eliminating those communities. This is it still is including folks who are white, and in fact, like an area that has more folks who are vulnerable in any particular way is going to show up in this index. it's not overwhelmingly like people of color who are driving the index. So, but we're still working on it. So this is good feedback, and we can we're kind of checking also like what's driving it really, and across all those maps.
Thank you. I got it. I see now that those factors exacerbate indeed the vulnerability in certain minorities or people of color more than the white ones. So now I get it.
Okay, yeah, and please let me know if you want to. I would love to. I don't know, have more conversation. I feel
No,
like
that's fine. I appreciate it as
so,
well. But okay, I'm good. Thank you again. I appreciate.
Okay, thank you, Colleen.
I'm on mute and I'm just talking away over here. Yeah, y'all. I'm sorry. No, so I'd love to hear from more of you. Is there any comments you have on this so far?
And it is a lot of information. So, you know, if there's comments that come later, like we'd still love to hear about them. And you have these packets, you can like take a look at them, like really mull on them. But your feedback would be really valued.
And I just want to remind everybody, we brought this forward before, like I like to say, before it's completely baked, just because we don't want to bring you something that's completely polished and finished. We want to have you help us in creating those pieces that we may be missing. So all of your comments are actually very, very helpful. Okay.
One question might be, is there anything that you see is missing from this kind of these kinds of factors? Is there any one area, you know, we talked about poverty and linguistic isolation in a country of origin, etc. Is there anything that pops out to any of you as like, oh, well, why aren't we thinking about this? This is a really important factor as well. I would love to.
Well, maybe physical handicap of some sort, but I don't know if that is anywhere accounted.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of these seniors that Krishna says in the chat. Physical handicaps, seniors. We have a pretty good potential for being able to map disability status, and it's something that we're definitely working on for like kind of the next.
Because that, you know, has special needs in terms of trail accessibility and other amenities that are necessary, right? And then seniors probably qualify for the same category of limited physical abilities that should be accounted.
And also, you know, we have like programs like Meals on Wheels. Depending on there's some seniors that are under the poverty level, and our Meals on Wheels program needs to serve that. And this is coming together so we can understand, well, maybe we need to have two locations that are providing those meals so that we're better distributing and being more efficient with the resources. So great comment, especially seniors, people with disabilities. We're using a lot of data that most agencies don't actually ever tap into. And the one thing that Excel and Andrew didn't talk about is we're using some pretty sophisticated tools to identify where people actually are versus just big census tracts. So we're taking a new step that a lot of agencies haven't even done. Gone through. So we're getting that more granular or a deeper look at our system. I know that it is a good program. I need to volunteer and drive around, except I get like 5 miles per gallon in my this was to Alma, sorry. She said, I love the Meals on Wheels, great program, and I would volunteer, but I get 5 miles per gallon. It's terrible. And I'm being a little dramatic. Excel.
Sorry to interrupt a little bit, but I think just because we're at 7:10 and we have such little time, I really would love to get to these last 3 or 4 slides, which I think really brings everything together. So I'm just going to kind of push us forward, if that's okay. And if you do have more feedback as time goes on, please. I don't know how people send that. I'm not in charge of that, but please do send it.
Send it to
Ryan. Okay.
You have my email
Awesome.
address, everybody.
Yeah, and you'll have his phone number soon, so just blow his
Yeah.
phone up. Um, um, so so now we're moving into park service areas, and so a service area is this is specific to neighborhood parks, and it's showing a 10-minute walk or a half-mile area surrounding the park. And that is a national standard for parks, park systems, to have a park within a half-mile walking distance or a 10-minute walk from every resident. And this is not just a half mile from the center of the park, but it considers how a person would move through a street and trail network to get to the park's access points. And so that's how these colored areas were created. And then you'll also notice that there are certain areas on the map that are darker, and those are where those are intersections where service areas overlap. And there are also gaps where there's places that are not served by a neighborhood park, at least based on our analysis right now, they're not served by a neighborhood park. And so they would have no color. And those intersections and those gaps will be a place of future analysis. And the next time we come to you to be like, hey, here's some stuff, it'll be a part of that. So building on this, this map is showing the acres of parks per person within that service zone. So in the zone that's served by that park, how many acres does each person have access to? And then, yeah. So we can kind of take a look at that. Can we linger there for a second? And just one note is, this South Hillsborough area, what is our data is from 2020, so that area may not be as populated as it is today, but there is a stark difference because those are new parks. So yeah, so the larger the bar, the more acres of park per person in that area, and then you can move on to the next one. And we can take a look back at these. We'll be to ask you the question. There are only 4 maps, or 3 maps in a diagram or a graph. So this is the Community Vulnerability Index that we just talked about, and it's that score per neighborhood park service area. So it's capturing just that group of people that are in that service area, and it's saying what score do they get in the Community Vulnerability Index. And so you can kind of see how that lays out. Plays out as well. Okay, and so I know it's a little short. Like I said, if anyone wants us to go back to any of these maps when we're discussing, we can go back and spend as much time as we have there on those maps. This last one is a little complicated, but it shows the actual counts of people. The estimated counts of people or numbers of people who fall into each of the race and socioeconomic categories in each park service area. And along the bottom of this chart is the population count. So note that parks also are labeled the parks that are labeled in the middle are ranked top to bottom by the Community Vulnerability Index score. So the Walnut Street Walnut Street Park is the highest scorer among the neighborhood parks for the Community Vulnerability Index score. And then race and ethnicity numbers are to the left by color, and then also socioeconomic numbers are to the right. And so you'll notice that the order of the parks kind of corresponds with those same, with the parks with service areas that overlap with high scores on our Community Vulnerability Index. And then something that we noticed about this chart is that if you look on the right, the top 3 scoring parks for the Community Vulnerability Index, there are more renters, more people born abroad, and also more people over 25 with no higher education degree. And so if you just look at the colors, you can kind of see that the purple, like lighter red and gold, I'm calling it gold, I guess it's gold, are those 3 variables. And we can see that even though they're in different orders, those are the variables that are most prominent in those top 3. So yeah, our question for feedback, and we can come back to any of these maps, Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Is kind of what is the story that from your perspective, these results are telling you about the park system as it is today? And we can this is the question. I'll post it in the chat too, so we can kind of focus on the maps if we want to go back to any of them. Oh, looks like I said bout instead of about. Well, you know what I mean.
Okay, I'm gonna flip between them here.
We probably have like another 4 minutes that we'll kind of linger on this. I know we have to do some kind of closing. So, so yeah, we'll just kind of hang out and look at the maps.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin.
Yasmin and Zayad, I'm really curious what you mean by a lot of progress. If could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of progress. That even the shape or the design of the parks, it's gonna be different from the past. As I mentioned in the beginning of the Zoom, the park in 53rd Avenue, I don't know, Creek Park or something. It's like something famous in Hillsborough. I heard a lot of people mention, I'm living in Hillsborough. It's 3 minutes away from my house. So I didn't see it, honestly, but I heard a lot of my friends, have you ever seen this park? Oh, I feel you're lucky. There's a new park near you. It's very nice. So I was curious to see it. It's very impressive and it's very nice. And I see a lot of progress, even materials. I'm an engineer also. So a lot of progress in the materials, the quality, they are thinking for everybody, from the seniors to the kids. They can, because in the past, there is a park that you can barely sit. The bench is not comfortable, not like now. The benches, the swings, the chairs, the barbecue, everything is very nice. So I'm noticing the progress in the parks and the new design and the fashion design, to be honest. Thank you.
And I feel like that provides so much opportunity for some of these older parks to be rethought, and with this new technology and new kind of design intentions and kind of inclusive design. And so yeah, there's these newer parks are really impressive, I'm hearing, and I'm really curious about as we look at the quality of parks across the system, which we didn't present today, but we hope to present in the future, what we'll see. And I imagine that like Hidden Creek Park will be at the top of that list of quality parks, as well as the newer parks in South Hillsborough. But I imagine that some of the older parks that haven't quite been refurbished yet or renovated yet might fall lower on the quality index. That's just my hypothesis.
Is there anybody else with any more comments? And we'll move on to the next piece, which we're almost done, I think. And then again, if you have comments that or just any kind of thoughts, please feel free to email me. I will add that to the notes at the end, or if you don't want me to add them to the notes, I won't add them to the notes, but you have my email. I'll put it in the chat here in a second. But Excel, I'm going to move us forward if that's all right.
That sounds good. Thank you, Ryan.
And then we're on to next steps. By the way, I am trying to change up the pictures each time, y'all. You may have seen I've used a few of the same pictures. I lost all my pictures. I'm trying to change them up. So don't point that out too much. Okay. So the next meeting we're planning is going to be late October, maybe the first week of November. Again, we will send out a we're gonna have a team meeting and look at the progress of the project. We will send out another I think it was a doodle poll or something.
We did.
Yeah.
We're still waiting for a few people to respond.
Yeah. And we'll send that out after we meet next week. We're going to in that meeting we'll be reviewing, next step is focus groups. And we'll be reviewing the focus groups after we get the data, which we will package up and send you the data. If you noticed in the packet I sent you earlier, I did have phase 1 engagement, and that was what we did. I think I gave you phase 1 engagement summary. If not, it's online. That's what we did last summer. And what we'll do is we'll provide you with a summary of the survey. And then also we are going to have a community open house, which I'm going to be sure that you all get information on that way ahead of time. It's looking like it's going to be November, but that's going to be a large event where we're doing more engagement at a deeper level, and really having people respond to what they want their park system to look like, what they want the vision to be. And I'll make sure that you all are invited, and that you can invite other folks. We're still working on coming up with that date. It'll probably be at Hidden Creek Community Center. And then the focus groups, Ping's folks, the community engagement liaisons are going to be setting those up. And I will email you a link to this, or I'll email you a link to the website, and also get you all. If you don't want me to text you a link to the survey, just let me know. You can just tell me if because I have your numbers here. If you don't want me to text you, just let me know and I won't text you. But it is from my personal phone, so I'm not going to use the city phone for that. So I'm going to try to text you all the link so that you can send it out to your friends and family that are in Hillsborough. So
Ryan, can I just ask a few questions to participants before we close today?
Do you mind if I unshare this?
Yes, that'll be perfect.
Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm still struggling with it. I know how to do that, actually. I'm just going to shut off my Zoom. My Zoom has not been working very well.
Yeah, you just need to get that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll still be here, folks.
Okay. So I just wanted to hear from the participants a few things. Number one is, you look at all the maps with different kind of colors and all that. Do you think that for the future, if the cities want to present a map like this with a hexagon or different dots, do you think that it will make sense to other people? From a committee member's perspective, do you think those maps actually help people to understand what city is doing? Yes or no? If yes, give me a thumbs up. If no, needs some improvement, give a thumbs down. What do you think? Do you understand what the city was trying to do with the map?
Krishna's yes.
Yes. If it's a good idea, thumbs up. If not sure, give me a thumbs down.
Thanks, Marco.
Yeah.
Clean.
Okay. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, good.
Great.
And do you think that, overall, do you understand the presentation tonight? Do you think it's easy for you to digest, or you think that in some way we could make it simpler? You think it's important information that you think maybe we can simplify it? What do you think? Do you think this is actually a right amount and the right way to share with people? We just want to hear from you. You can type your answer in the chat box, or you can say it. Make it simple, okay?
Okay.
Do you think, the question is very simple. Do you think the presentation we have tonight, is that easy for people to digest, or you think that this is the right amount, or just like it needs to be a bit simpler for the public to understand.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's what I think when we get into building the presentation for the community and the document itself, we are going to have to figure out a way to make it really like digestible by all groups
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question is,
Visual is the key. That's a good point too.
yes. The last question is, do you find the information we shared tonight will be very useful for a lot of people? It doesn't matter simplify or not or current situation, but do you think that the information we shared tonight is very useful? Thumbs up, useful. Not so too much. Think thumbs down.
Getting some yeses.
Don't be shy. I don't know where you
You can
live.
say no if you want. It's okay.
Yes,
It's not gonna
yes,
hurt
it's okay. You can
anybody.
say, I'm not gonna go to knock on your door. Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Like I said, I'm not gonna knock on your door, so feel free to say whatever.
Thanks, Tina.
You're very welcome. All right. Anything else? Any other questions you guys have before we end this? Anybody have any questions for the city or for you know, the Knox team? Anybody?
Okay, and remember, I'm always available. You can email
Before
me
10 p.m.
before 10 p.m. I'm always available before 10 p.m. So yes, please feel free to use my email. And I will give you all my number. If you want to talk, if you have ideas, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to be that connection. So thank you all very much. We're going to give you, I'm trying to make it 3 minutes of your life back. It's probably going to be 2, but again, thank you all so much for being here. It means a lot. The next meeting, we're going to be doing a lot more interactive stuff. So we look forward to seeing you then. Until then, have a great September and most of October. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will
Thank you to our guest speakers.